A very good evening, dear listeners. Today I have come up with the next topic of grammar, so that is voice. So often I have heard students talking about like this is so difficult. We often get confused between change the voice and change the narration. So I've tried my level best to simplify the things through this presentation. So I hope you would learn a lot from it, right? Children, the very first thing before beginning with the rules of active and passive voice, so I would like to tell you some of the very important things, or you may say, I would like to discuss some of the questions which often come to the mind of the people whenever they do active and passive voice. Right. The very common and encountered question is that, why we change from active to passive, or what is the need of changing from passive voice to the active one, right? So here are some of the answers to it. First one is that the sentence written in active voice is more direct, it's more straightforward. Second is that it's more informative as compared to the sentence written in passive voice. Another point is that the sentence in active voice is more authoritative. It shows a kind of authority of a person who is being focused as the subject of the sentence. And the final point is that it is more engaging as compared to the passive one, right? So second is that why we people use passive voice. What is the advantage of using writing sentences in passive voice? So the first one is that passive voice is used to avoid blame on somebody, right? We would be doing examples, so you would find it very very simple. The thing is that it is used to avoid blame, right? In active voice, the sentence is authoritative, so it is often felt that the person speaking in active voice is blaming the other person, right? So in the passive voice, when we speak a sentence in passive voice, that sentence helps us to avoid blame on other people. I hope that's clear. Next is that it shows a kind of neutral tone. It means it is not biased. It shows some neutral tone, right? Next is that a passive voice is most appropriate when the doer is unknown or unimportant. It means whenever the subject of the sentence, subject, you may say doer, 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 right? The one who does something. Whenever the doer is either unknown, or the name of the doer or the identity of the doer is unimportant, in such a case passive voice is highly appropriate. Next is that passive voice allows us to focus on bringing the important things to the front of the sentence. Like whatever is being focused is brought in the beginning of the sentence, is brought in the former part of the sentence while speaking the same in passive voice. But if to talk of importance, both active and passive voice have their own importance. We cannot prioritize one over the other, right? So I hope the introduction is clear to you. Many of your queries must have been solved regarding why active voice is used, why it is changed into passive, etc. Right? So beginning with the first page itself. So children, I have tried to divide it tense wise, so I hope you will be able to learn it quickly. So see children, if we get the following things in the active voice, so how to change it? Say first the subject is there in the sentence, then verb's first form is there plus s or es is attached to the first form of the verb plus object is there. So wherever s or es is there, verb's first form is there, then if we convert that sentence into passive, we replace it with is, am or are according to the object. I hope this is very much clear to all the students that in active voice, subject is in the beginning and object is at the end of the sentence. When we change the sentence into a passive one, what we do, we bring the object in the beginning and we take the subject towards the end of the sentence, right? By is added before the subject. That is must, right? So, take one example, very simple one. She writes a letter. She writes a letter. She is the subject itself. Writes is the verb's first form. A letter is the object, right? So a letter is the object. Object would come in the beginning of the sentence and then it is followed by is, because with a letter we cannot attach am, we cannot attach are, because a letter is a singular thing, right? A letter is written by her. Next, very important thing to remember in passive voice, like while changing active into passive, learners please remember that we always apply third form of verb in the passive voice. See, this is the first slide. Second one, again verb's third form is used. Third slide, third form of verb is used. Again then, if we say that at every place, whatever be the rule, verb's third form is there in the passive voice, right? So, coming back to our first slide, listeners, why I am stressing upon this thing, like before initiating all the rules, because sometimes the students get confused in this, like if there is verb's first form in the active voice, sometimes they get confused and change it into passive, change it into the second form. Sometimes second form is there, they keep it as it is. So that's why I am stressing upon this fact that be it first form, be it second form or third form in the active voice, we always need to change it into third form. I hope that's clear. So the second example is again an easy one. The boys do not make a noise. See, do, did, done. First form is there. The boys do not make a noise. Negative sentence. So as we did in the previous lecture tenses, like I have tried to jot down three sentences of each type. Yes, first one is affirmative sentence, positive. Second is negative sentence, and third is interrogative sentence, right? So the boys do not make a noise. A noise is the object, obviously that would come in the beginning. A noise is, do, does will change into is, mr, and a noise will be followed by is. A noise is not made by the boys. The boys is the subject of the sentence. It would come at the end, and from make is from make we will convert it into made. That is the third form of verb, right? I hope that's clear. So third sentence is, do you respect your parents? Right? Question mark. Again, when do, does is there, we change it into is, mr. See children, parents is the object of the sentence. It would come in the beginning, but whenever we are dealing with an interrogative sentence, so helping verb would always remain like this only. See, do. Do, does changes into is, mr. When parents word is there, parents, this is a plural, right? So that's why we will write are. Are your parents respected by you? Question mark, right? I hope that's clear to you. Next is students changing the sentences where in active sentence the second form of verb is used, right? So in the first form, as we used to do, from first S or ES is applied, we change it into is MR plus third form of verb when we are dealing with sentences in which subject plus verb second form plus object is there. What we do there? We bring the object in the beginning. Second form is there. Whenever second form is there, we change it into was or were in the passive voice. Again, as I told you, whatever be the form of verb in active, it will become verb's third form in the passive voice. Plus by plus subject, right? We refused him admission. We refused him admission. See, him is the first object here. He was refused admission by us. We being the subject, we became us here, right? He was refused admission by us. Next is, they did not disturb me. So children, what I told you, whenever do or does is there in the sentence, it is changed into is MR. Remember, whenever did is there in the active voice, that would change into was or were, right? So they did not disturb me. Me is the object, me would come in the beginning and it would become I. And with I, we use singular was. I was not disturbed by them. Right? As simple as that. Another thing I want to remind you that see the sentence, they did not disturb me. Did is there in the sentence and with did always verb's first form is used. Disturb. Right? I was not disturbed by them. Next interrogative sentence is, did you lock the gate? Again, helping verb is there in the beginning. Did would change into was or were according to the situation. Since the gate is singular, so was we will use was here. Was the gate locked by you? Question mark. Right? Coming to the next one. See, children, it's as simple as that. Whenever we are dealing with sentences of future tense, subject is there, will or shall is there, verb's first form is there plus object. With will or shall, verb's first form is attached, right? Whenever there is active. In passive, will or shall will be changed into will be and or shall be plus first form of verb would change into verb's third form and object and subject will interchange their places, right? See the example. They will know the truth. The truth will be known to them. Note it very carefully. We cannot write the truth will be known by them. So I would forward you another PPT or another document containing like what preposition you are supposed to use in such particular cases, right? So we apply the preposition to here, known to, not known by, known to them. The truth will be known to them, right? Next is, he will not help you. Negative sentence. You being the object would come in the beginning. Will not become will not be. Remember listeners, we cannot write you will be not helped by them. No, this is a wrong utterance. What we'll write? He will not help you. Change into passive. You will not be helped by him. Right? Next is interrogative sentence. Will she paint a picture? Question mark. Picture would come in the beginning. Will as a helping verb would remain there. Will a picture be painted by her? Don't mistake here. Will a picture be? Be would come after the object, which comes in the beginning. In the active voice, it's at the end. Picture is at the end, right? Picture would come in the beginning, but will would remain there as a first word of the sentence in interrogative type of future tense, right? So I hope that's also clear. So next is when we are dealing with the sentences written in present continuous tense. So see children, In present continuous, we did yesterday as is MR plus verb's first form plus ing is used. That again subject and object will interchange their places. Object would come in the beginning. Is MR will remain is MR here. Remember, when S or ES is there in the beginning, it is changed into is M or R. But whenever in the active voice is MR is there, then first form of verb plus ing will also be there in the sentence. Is MR plus first form plus ing will change into is MR plus being. So children, here verbs first form plus ing. First form will become third form. That is very clear, unquestionable. First form will change into third form of verb. Plus ing will become being in the passive voice. Remember it very carefully. Ing will become being in the passive voice, right? Example, he is watering the plants. He is watering the plants. The plants are being watered by him. There's a little bit mistake. I should have written the plants are being, right? I have written plants are being watered. The plants are being watered by him, right? Watering is the first form of verb plus ing. That's clear. Watering would become being watered. Water, third form, watered. Right? Ing will become being. The plants are being watered by him. Right? Next is Jack is not climbing upon the mountain. Negative sentence. The mountain will come in the beginning. The mountain is not. Climbing means climb is the first form of verb plus ing is there. So climb will become climbed in the passive voice and ing would change into being. Yes, the mountain is not being climbed upon by Jack. Don't miss the preposition upon here. Two prepositions would come here consecutively, upon and by. Be very careful. The mountain is not being climbed upon by Jack. Right? I hope that's clear. Next is, are you calling him? Question mark. As simple as that. Helping verb is there. Are helping verb is there in the beginning. Are you calling him? Right? Him would come in the beginning, but as him is a singular word, so him would become he. That is very clear. Him as an object, when we are taking it in the beginning of the sentence, it will become he. But because he is singular, so are would not remain are in the passive voice. It will become his. Right? So we use are with plurals and we use is with singulars except I. Right? Is he being called by you? Question mark. Children, don't mistake here by writing are he being called by you. We cannot apply helping verb are with he. We always say he is a good boy. We use his, right? So he is a good boy. Is used with he. That's why is would come in the beginning because it's an interrogative sentence, right? Is he being called by you? Question mark. Right? So I hope that's clear. Next is again as simple as that. Was, were is there. First form, verbs first form plus ing. See the similarity between these two. So this is was, were plus first form plus ing. This was is MR plus first form plus ing in the rule. So is MR plus first form plus ing became is MR plus being plus third form. Same. Was, were is when was, were is there in the active voice, was, were would be there in the passive voice also. The only change being in the verb, form of the verb. First form will change into third form. ing will become being in the passive voice. I hope you have learned this rule by now. See here also what we did, like is MR remained is MR, right? First form changed into third form and ing changed into being. Same, it's here. Was, were will remain was, were. Ing will change into being. First form will change into third form of the verb. And subject and object will interchange their positions. See, he was teasing the baby. Teasing as the tease as the first form of verb, ing. Along with that, right, the baby as an object would come in the beginning. The baby was will remain was because he is singular and the baby is also singular. The baby was being teased by him, right? Next example is Rahul was not reading that book. Rahul is the subject that would be at the end of the sentence. That book is the object and it would come in the beginning, right? That book was not being read by Rahul. Don't think that I have written read here. The spellings are same. Read, first form is read, second form is read, third form is also read, right? But the spellings of all the three forms are same, R-E-A-D, right? That book was not being read by Rahul. I hope that's clear. So next example is of interrogative sentence, that is, were you attending the classes? Question mark. Were as an interrogative would remain there because with you we also apply like the plural helping verb, and classes, word classes is also plural, right? The classes would come in the beginning. Were the classes being attended by you? Attending means attend verb's first form plus ing is there. First form would change into third, attended, ing would change into being, right? Were the classes being attended by you? Question mark, right? I hope that's clear. Next is see, when we use perfect tense, right? Simply, very easy. Children, in this subject plus has or have is there. Already the third form of verb is there in perfect tense. I told you yesterday as well. Already verb's third form is used. Why? Because the action has been completed, right? So what is the criteria here? Third form will remain. Third form, I told you, in active voice, if we have first form, then also it will change into third form. If we have second form in active voice, then also it will change into third form. If we have third form, then it would remain same as third form of verb. See, third form would be there. Then you must be wondering what change we would bring. So we will add the word been here. B-E-E-N. Differentiate it. One is being. Being we apply by removing ing. Ing from first form of verb. Been is always applied with has and have whenever there is third form. See the example. I have kept my promise. I is the subject. Have, kept is the third form of verb. Keep, kept, right? Kept. My promise is the object. My promise would come in the beginning, obviously. My promise has been. But promise is singular, right? Promise, one promise is there. My promise has been. That's why we will apply has with it. If many promises would have been there, so in that case we apply have, right? With plural we apply have. My promise has been kept by me. Kept, third form of verb was there in active voice, and in passive also we would apply third form, right? My promise has been. We only have to bear in mind very clearly that the helping verb will be used according to the object. In active voice, helping verb is used according to the subject. See, with I, we do not use has. What we use? We use have, right? But with singular things, all the singular things except I, we use here singular has, right? My promise has been kept by me. Next is, they have not plucked the flowers. They have not plucked the flowers. Have is there, plucked verb's third form is there, right? So, the flowers would come in the beginning, have not been plucked by them. Remember again, have not been. right? Been is added along with has or have according to the situation. Flowers are plural, that's why have will remain have here, right? Has Varun paid his fine? Question mark. Has Varun paid his fine, right? Has will remain has because in interrogative the same helping verb comes in the beginning. So Varun is also singular, fine is also a singular thing, right? Has his fine been paid by Varun, right? Next is, that is the simplest form, I believe. See, here we have to select between has and have. Like, we need to think for a while whether we should use has here or have. But here, in this type of tense where had plus third form is used, we don't have to do even that selection of has and have. We simply have to apply been in these kind of sentences. See, the peon had cleaned the table. The peon had cleaned the table. The table would come in the beginning, had will remain, had whatever be the case. The table had been cleaned by the peon. As simple as that. I had not kept bad company. Bad company would come in the beginning. Bad company had not been kept by me. Had not been is added after the negative, right? Bad company had not been kept by me. Interrogative example, have you signed the deal? Question mark. Had you signed the deal? Had would remain in the beginning. The deal would come right in front. Had the deal been signed by you? Question mark. Only been is to be added and subject and object have to interchange their positions. That's it. Right? I hope that's clear. Next is changing of will have and shall have. So children, again a very simple type in which will have and shall have would remain same. Verb's third form will be applied here and it would also be exactly the same. The only change is adding been to the sentence. Very simple. See, I shall have finished the job. Right? I shall have finished the job. We will change it into the job will come in the beginning. The job will have. Children, with I we use shall. But if we are using the word the job, we will apply will with it. Right? The job will have been finished by me. Next is, she will not have paid the rent. The rent would come in the beginning. The rent will not have exactly the same we have to pick. Right? Will not have paid the rent. The rent will not have been paid by her. Right? Very simple. Only we need to add been in these types of sentences, or else will, have, shall, have, etc. verbs third form, everything would remain same in the passive voice. See interrogative example. Will they have said their prayers? Question mark. Will their prayers was the object, so it would come in the beginning. Will their prayers have been said by them? As simple as that. Next is examples. So children, these are some of the miscellaneous examples and some of the modals I have tried to include in this presentation. See, the examples related to modals would, should, can, could, may, might, ought to, must, need, dare, etc. should be dealt very carefully. For example, what we have to do? We have to add be in the be in the passive voice. Very simple, be, right? How to do it? I can teach the students of BSc, right? I can teach the students of BSc. Teach is the first form of verb. The students of BSc is the object of the sentence, children. The students of BSc, right? It would come in the beginning. The students of BSc can be. Can would change into can be. Teach, I already told you, whenever there is first or second or any form of verb, it is changed into third form in the passive voice. The students of BSc can be taught by me, right? I will become me in the passive voice. Next example is you should respect your teachers, right? So your teachers will come in the beginning. Should will become should be in the passive voice, nothing else. Very, very easy. Should will become should be. And respect is which form of verb? First form. First form will become third form, right? Your teachers should be respected by you, right? I hope that's clear. Next is you must watch that movie. Must, right? When we are making an obligation for somebody that you must do it. Again, be will be added and first form will change into the third form. That movie must be watched by us. Like we must watch, must be watched by us, right? Next is when we children, I have like not written some of the examples. Wherever may is there, might, ought to, must, need, dare, etc. In all these types, like we change it like this only, from first form to third form and adding be with the modals, right? Next is whenever we wish to give advice to somebody, advice, order, request, right? So suppose first sentence is a kind of advice. Like we cannot order someone to take exercise daily. We should not. Why we should request anyone to take exercise daily? We can only like give advice to people, right? We can only give advice, right? Take exercise daily. This is an active sentence. As I told you in the beginning of this presentation, inactive, it is very direct. It is very direct. In fact, it is authoritative, right? Take exercise daily. So, we cannot order anybody. How will we use it in passive? How will we use it in like a polite manner? You are advised to take exercise daily. Because asking someone to take exercise is not a kind of order or request. It is just an advice, right? You are advised. See the spellings carefully. Advise, advised. Whenever we are using a verb, advised with S will be used, and whenever we often say that give him advice, right? So whenever we use it as a noun, C is there in the word, ADVICE, right? Next sentence is an order. If I say somebody get out of my room, get out of my room, that is an order. Because that is your room, you have full authority to ask anybody to get out of that place. So you may use you are ordered to get out of my room, right? Because this is not at all a polite sentence. We cannot say you are requested to get out of my room or you are advised to get out of my room. No, you are simply ordered to be off. You are ordered to get out of my room, right? Next is please help me. Very simple. Whenever please is there in a sentence, obviously we are making request to somebody, right? We are making a request. You are requested to help me. I hope you are enjoying this presentation. Next is offers, suggestions and are made passive by using let and see. In what manner? In active voice, let us play tennis. Right? Let tennis be played by us. Whenever offers are there in a sentence, whenever we are being offered something, whenever we are being offered some suggestion by somebody, right? Let us play tennis. If we are suggesting our friend, let us play tennis, how it can be called in passive? Let tennis be played by us, right? So, it makes it less authoritative in passive. It shows a kind of neutral tone, right? So, let her do it. Let her do it. Very simple. Let it be done by her. Let her do it means let her do some work. Let some work be done by her. Be is added whenever we are offering some suggestion to somebody. Right? Next is the usage of to infinitive. Right? So, two types of infinitives are there. First one is that where to preposition is added with the first form of verb, and second is bare infinitive where whereas in the bare infinitive, to is not used, right? Only we have to rely upon the form of verb for changing the sentence. See, a stick is to walk with. To plus walk. To is a preposition. Walk is the first form of verb. A stick is to be walked with. A bit complex. You need you need to do some exercise on it, but you can easily deal with such sentences once you get a command over them. A stick is to walk with. A stick is to be walked with. So outwardly it seems simple, right? A stick is to be walked with. We need to add be. A stick is to be. And the golden rule, wherever the form is first, be it second, be it third, in passive we use third form. Walk will become walked here. Right? I made him do this work. I've made. The work is done. I made him do his work. Right? He was made to do this work by me. I made him do this work means I compelled him. I ordered him. Right? I commanded him to do this work. And in the passive we say, see, when I say I made him do this work, it means I am showing my authority. Like I am some person who is possessing some authority. Right? Who is possessing some power. It's very direct. I made him do this work because of the power that is in my hands. So when I change it into passive, it becomes a little bit humble sentence. It becomes a sentence in which the blame would not come upon me, right? So see, he was made to do this work by me. Him is the first object. Him would become he, right? He was made to do this work by me. Right? I hope that's clear. See some of the relaxing sentences, some very easy ones. It's time to take rest. It's time for rest to be taken. To be taken. Again, whenever infinitive means to plus verb's first form is there, right? To infinitive is there. We change it into to plus be plus take as the first form of verb. That would become third form in the passive voice. It's time for rest to be taken. Simple. Next is it's time to play cricket. It's time for cricket to be played. Again, to play infinitive plus to plus infinitive, right? To will become to be and play will become played. It's time for cricket to be played. Next is it's time to say prayer. Again, it's time for prayer to be said. Say will become said here. So, I hope that's also clear. So, students, in this slide, we are having certain examples which are otherwise very simple. Like, suppose the news alarmed her. Alarmed is the second form of verb, and as we did in the second part, whenever like second form of verb is there, was, were is used in the passive voice plus third form of verb. Simply the news alarmed her, she was alarmed. What is important in that I have to make a different slide for it. The difference is that the news alarmed her is the use of preposition in the passive voice. She was alarmed at the news. But we cannot say she was alarmed by the news. No. She was alarmed when she heard that news. Right? Alarmed at the news. At the advent of the news. So, at is used with the following verbs which I have listed. Alarmed, annoyed, astonished, displeased, pleased, etc. I have quoted some of the examples. His behavior astonished me. Astonished means like I was highly surprised at something. Like when I was if I get shocked at something, right? His behavior astonished me. I was astonished at his behavior. I will not say I was astonished by his behavior. Again, I'm repeating, children, why I have made a different slide of these sentences, because these are the commonly made mistakes. Students often, if I ask the sentence in the exam, his behavior astonished me, students often answer it, I was astonished by his behavior. No, at his behavior. Like when he behaved in such a bad manner, right? When he behaved in such a bad temper, I was astonished at that time, right? Next is his arrival pleased us. Pleased means made us happy. The thing which provides us pleasure, we often say pleased, right? Her arrival pleased us. We were pleased at her arrival. We were pleased at her arrival, right? Next is to known. See, I know her. Very simple. Whenever known is there, whenever we use the word known, again in passive, to preposition is used, not by. Again, the most commonly made mistake. I know her. People, students converted into she is known by me. No, she is known to me. Remember it carefully. Next is children, again some commonly made mistakes, right? So these are again students add by, the preposition by, in these sentences. For example, I have listed that while using the following words in passive, preposition in will be used: contained, engaged, included, involved, right? See, the jug contains water. What is the common mistake? People change it into water is contained by the jug. No, incorrect. Totally incorrect. Water is contained in the jug. Because the water is in the jug is not holding the water, right? It is contained in. Use it carefully. The meeting engaged me for a long time. Engaged me means the meeting made me busy, right? The meeting occupied my schedule. So, I was engaged in the meeting for a long time. I cannot say I was engaged by the meeting. Meeting, I was engaged in, not by, right? I was engaged in the meeting for a long time. Next is, this chapter includes all the points. All the points are included in this chapter, not by this chapter. Remember it: contained, engaged, included, involved. Last example is riots were involving common people. Like, right? So, fights. The fights which are held among people, riots, right? Common people were being involved in riots, not by riots. Riots is not a living thing that we would use by here. Riots were being, common people were being involved in riots, right? Next is, again children, some of the mistakes which students commit, right? Instead of by, we should use the preposition with the following words. Which are these? The words are blocked, crowded, disgusted, embellished, felt, impressed, offended, and pleased, pleasing a person, right? Satisfied, thronged. A few examples are: the sand blocked the water flow. The water flow was. Blocked is the second form of verb. So in the passive voice we will use was or were, and the sand flow is a singular phenomena. So was will be used. The sand flow was blocked with the sand. Right? Sorry. It's like the water flow was blocked with the sand. Right? I'm so sorry. Next is, people crowded the stadium. People crowded the stadium. Crowded is the second form, so was or were. So the stadium is singular, was will be used. The stadium was crowded with people. Right? Next is, the teacher pleased the class. Pleased means made the class happy. Right? The teacher pleased the class. The class was pleased with the teacher. Right? So next is, the scenery impressed us. Us will become we, and impressed verb's second form is there. So was or were will be used, and if we, the word we is there, so we often obviously use plural here were. We were impressed with the scenery, not by the scenery. Right? Next is, again, children, so these are a few examples of the sentences where double object is there, and double object would lead us to make two types of passive voice. Miss Priya teaches us English, right? Which are the two subjects here? Miss Priya teaches us English. Which are the two subjects here? First subject is us. Sorry, which are the two objects here? First object is us and second object is English. We can also begin our passive voice sentence by turning us to the beginning and making it we. We can also begin our passive voice sentence with the word English. See, Miss Priya teaches us English. We can write it into passive like we are taught English by Miss Priya. Right? We can also write it like English is taught to us by Miss Priya. Taught to us. Right? Next is, he will give you a beautiful gift. So, can you guess the two objects in this sentence? This is also a sentence with double object. He will give you a beautiful gift. So, children, you is the first object in the sentence and a beautiful gift is the second object in the sentence. Right? You will be given a beautiful gift by him. You will be given a beautiful gift by him. Or you can say a beautiful gift will be given to you by him. Right? Again, as simple as that. Children, if you remember, I told you that whenever we are using a passive sentence, it makes the sentence less authoritative and it avoids blame. See, they named the child Ankit. It's very well understood better that they must mean that parents, right? The child's parents. They named the child Ankit. So there are two objects. See, Ankit, the child. But we can make only one appropriate passive voice with it. The child was named Ankit by them. Why I have included the words by them in the bracket? Because in passive, we may or may not write by them. We can simply change it into passive like the child was named Ankit. Right? Because it is very obvious that he would be named by some of his elders. The child was named Ankit. This is also correct. The child was named Ankit by them is also correct. Right? Next is, we elected him the chairman. So, again, we means a group of people. Like some group is there, like multiple people are there, like only they are in a position to elect somebody. He was elected the chairman, or simply we can say he was elected the chairman by us. Him is the main object that would come in the beginning of the sentence, right? Next is, these are you may say very queer examples, very different examples, some of the strange sentences, but these are as simple as that. See, you just need to cram some of the things. There are no golden rules for these. Rose smells sweet. Very, very commonly used sentence. Rose is sweet when smelt. Right? Your shoes need polishing. Your shoes need to be polished. Prepare yourself for the exam. Be prepared for the exam. I hope to win. It is hoped that I shall win. Or I hope that I shall win. That is also correct. Right? So, sit down. How can we call it? How can we say it in passive? Sit down or be seated. You often have heard some of the teachers whenever you stand up to greet them when they enter your class, right? You often say good morning. The teacher replies, good morning, children. Be seated. So, in such a manner, they are using passive voice. Some say sit down, that is active, that is a little bit authoritative. Be seated makes the sentence, makes the speaker of the sentence a little bit humble. Be seated. Right? Next is, one must do one's duty. Duty must be done. Very simple. Women like men to flatter them. Right? A bitter truth. Women like to be flattered by men. Right? So I hope that's also clear. So in the next slide, in the final slide, children, so I have tried to jot down some of the, you may say very simple things, some of you may say very silly things in fact, like what pronouns are changed into what? When I is there, it is changed into me. We is changed into us. He into him, she into her, they into them. You will remain you, and it will remain it. Right? So that's all for today's lesson. I hope you must have learned something from it, and your queries are most welcome. Have a safe time, stay at your homes. I would come up with many more new lessons. Thank you for listening.